People have said, we find in the Gemara of Sukkah, a very famous Gemara, that when it rains on Sukkot and we're forced to leave the Sukkah, Chazal compare that to a king who is served water and he throws the water back in his servant's face. And they've said, we see here on Simchas Torah that Rebbeinu Shloim threw Simchas Torah in our face, and it's a horrible matzav klapi HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and so forth. Others have said that they daven their hearts out, Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, Shana Rabbah, Atzlacha, for Klal Yisrael, etc. And we see that Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, and Simchas Torah definitely were not successful. And this year, we did not have success on Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur and Shana Rabbah. The question is, are these statements true? We have to understand as follows. There are two madorim, there are two compartments when it comes to Avodah and Avodah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Avodah how we serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, particularly Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, Shana Rabbah, Simchas Torah this time of the year. There is the Yochid, Avodah HaYochid, not only Avodah HaYochid, but what is the Yochid supposed to achieve, what is called success. And then there's another thing, which is Avodah HaTzibur. What is the din on the tzibur? How does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do that? How does he create the din? Why does he create the din? What does that mean to us? From the perspective of the avodah and the success of a yochid on Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, and Simchas Torah. What is success? What is defined as success? People often ask and say, did you have a successful Rosh Hashana? And they answer, this is the classic answer, we'll see what happens during the year. That is not entirely correct. The Vada is midas hadin. There's a din on Rosh Hashana. There's mishpat on Rosh Hashana. We say mi ba'esh, mi b'mayim, mi b'chaniko, ezel acherev, ezel arav, ezel asova, Vada kol boy olam over lefonu kibnei moreh. No question about it. But that doesn't mean that you can understand your success on Rosh Hashana Yom Kippur in terms of the din that happens later on. Successful Rosh Hashana is as follows. We live, generally speaking, in an egocentric world, whereby we are the center of the world, our rotzen, our desires are the center of the world, our morality, our thinking, what we decide is valuable, what we decide is good, what we decide is evil, and what we decide we ought to do with our ritzonos, our rotzen is paramount, that is our world. On Rosh Hashana we come in front of Rebbeinu Shloim, and our avodah is to say, as it were, to usurp, dethrone ourselves from the center, and as it were, we abdicate, and what we do is we crown HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a coronation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, no, it's not. That's not what the world's really about. The world is your world. I am in your world. You're not in my world. I am in your world. It's you've decided what is good, what is bad. You've decided what one ought to do. You've decided what is valuable. You tell me how to go about my life. It's your rotzen which is paramount, and I subsume my rotzen to you. That is the avodah of Rosh Hashana, Malchus, Kabbalah's Malchus. The avodah of Yom Kippur, Nases Meitshuva, is a person comes, he has been misachek from Rebbeinu Shloim, he has the Aveiras, the Anhogas Lo Tovos, the things whereby he's not been doing the right thing. He comes, he has Vidui, he has Charota, Aziv Zachet Kabbalah Lahavo, which are the four parts of tshuva, and he says he's got a genuine tshuva. I now am a different person. He commits himself to that. The Kodesh Baruch Hu knows if it's a genuine commitment, and I have changed. It might not have practical manifestation straight away. It can take time, but the change is there. I have changed. I am different. I am not the same man. That is what Yom Kippur is about, as far as we're concerned. Simchas Torah is about having a chibur to Torah, connecting to Torah, to the extent that it fills us with joy. This is the only entertainment I want. This is the only hanor I really enjoy, and that is Torah HaKadosha, and it's such a joy that I can dance and sing, and I love the Torah, and we're talking more about learning Torah than about Shmiras Torah mitzvahs. Shmiras Torah mitzvahs, Kabbalah's old Torah and mitzvahs is more to do with Shavuos, that's Kabbalah's Torah and the mitzvahs. Simchas Torah is a celebration of the learning and completion of learning Torah. That's why we have Simchas Torah at this particular time, because we finish from Bereshis to V'zos HaBrocha, and that's the learning Torah. Someone who feels that connection, who feels Torah is such a gewaldig, because that's so exciting, it's supreme. It's superb, and this is what I am, and he dances, and he feels that, and it gives him a boost. He is Mekabel, he has a successful Simchas Torah. What the Rebbeinu Shalom does with your Kabbalah Malchus Shemaim on Rosh Hashana, what the Rebbeinu Shalom does with your tshuva or with your connection to Torah, it's another cheshbon. No question, there is Charein Af, and there's Midas Hadin, a really, really tough Midas Hadin, a winding of Klal Yisrael, almost a knockout blow. But that has irrelevance to your Avodah Protis, Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, Simchas Torah. If Rebbeinu Shalom wanted to ruin Simchas Torah, and Rebbeinu Shalom knows what he's doing, he'd have let this happen on Hoshana Rabbah. And if it would have happened on Hoshana Rabbah, I guarantee the whole world would have been in Avodah Simchas Torah, even though, al pi halach, we'd have had to continue with our koppos, we'd have to continue with the Aliyah of the Torah and the Tfilas Geshem, etc. We'd have had to done that. But it would have been an extraordinarily difficult backdrop of agony, of anguish, of avelus, of terror, of fear, and so on and so forth. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't do it like that. Everyone had a Leil Simchas Torah, where they were Mesameach and they mischaber to the Torah, no question. And most places, because we do not, and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that, we don't use electricity on Shabbos, we don't listen to radio, we don't have media, etc., etc. Most places during the day didn't know anything was happening, or at least to the extent of what was happening. In Ofakim, in the Moshav Ofakim, where there were Roitzkim roaming around butchering people, the actual Beis HaMedrash, where the main Sibur was, were singing and dancing at the same time. They didn't know there were terrorists around outside. Why the terrorists didn't go into the shul? Unless Golui almost. But the Maisa, they were having a Simchas Torah. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to ruin it, he'd have taken that away. He'd have done that you wouldn't be able to have a Simchas Torah. On Sukkot, you can't sit in the Sukkah. Kiton Shalmaim. On Simchas Torah, they had a Simchas Torah. Had we known, would we have done the same thing? Of course not. But Amaisa, we didn't know. And Hagoatzmacho, someone who had a chibur to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah on Simchas Torah, and it filled him with joy, and he realized what Torah is. And because of that, in 3 months' time, Bez Hashem should finish it within a few days, a week, whatever it is. But in 3 months' time, he now has more cheshik in learning. That means he didn't have a successful Simchas Torah. And someone who did Shuvah on Yom Kippur, and he changes his whole life. By Pesach time, he's already a different Yid. He's doing things in a better way, a bigger way, a more choshev way. He's come close to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he didn't have a successful Yom Kippur. And someone on Rosh Hashana who committed himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Malchus, changed his whole value system. Now he's committed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that leads him for the rest of his life to have a different value. He didn't have a successful Rosh Hashana. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu functions in din, there's another cheshbon. And is there din? Yes. And is Ezer Lechev, Ezer Rob, and so on? Was there din on Klal Yisrael Avada? And is that part of the idea of Rosh Hashanah? That is part of the idea of Rosh Hashanah. But does that mean you personally didn't have a successful Rosh Hashanah? You personally didn't have a successful Yom Kippur? You personally didn't have a successful Simchas Torah? No, doesn't mean that. That's a misunderstanding of what our avodah is on these holy days. Avada we're b'tzar, avada we're in pain, avada anguish, and avada there's midas hadin, and avada there's hesed upon him. But even in hesed upon him, you can still have Kabbalah's Malchus Shemaim. Even in hesed upon him, you can still do tshuva, or you should still do tshuva. Even in hesed upon him, you can still have a simcha in Torah HaKadosha. It's just harder. And that we need to know to stop the confusion. That was all for nothing. It's not worth anything. We didn't have. It's not successful. That is not true.